where do we even begin to talk about this kind of sad and darkest time in ASIM history? And it's unfortunate how these games operate. They kind of come and go as they please, and they kind of not really, they're not going to really live another couple of years or so. This was kind of expected at this point. This isn't really like a shocker, but let's read what they put out on their Twitter post real fast, and I'll make it short and simple. The game of Texas Chainsaw Massacre will not be receiving any further content or support. This means there will be no more DLC, balance updates, bug fixes. There will still be their May patch. There'll be maybe there is possible small patches in the future, and they're going to be transitioning to peer-to-peer matchmaking. It'll still be playable. It's not going to be delisted. They'll still talk to the community, I guess, to celebrate the game itself. They're still going to enjoy bringing multiplayer horror space games to kind of bring that cinematic experience, even though that's not really a great thing. I mean, you can do it, but it has to be the right way. They said that they're going to keep the way how the game was and how they stay motivated to play and do what's best, and that they enjoy making our favorite horror games. We couldn't have it another way. What's next for Gun? The infamous three dots, stay tuned. Yeah, that's not really a great thing to... I mean, the bottom part was the important message, but the other stuff on the top paragraph is just them talking about how much they were happy about making the game. And so this is kind of a shit show because there's still stuff missing from the content pass, and they said that the game has pretty much reached its full potential, even though that's not really the case at all, actually, because there's still a lot more they can add. Because my initial assumption was they would drop the family member of Meadow, they would drop the new victim and the new map, and then call it to kind of give them one final send-off. And this isn't really like a shocking factor, because there's been a lot of stuff that has been leaked for like the longest time. Meadow was leaked back in like a couple months back, and then like there's just been other shit behind the scenes. And I also like how Rush Week wasn't mentioned, because Rush Week's still been in the game for like since last year and back in November, and it just seems like to me at this point, because the signs have been there, I definitely do think so. Since Texas Chainsaw won't be getting like any content, any DLC, they weren't very specific about Rush Week because it's kind of been left out of the dust. It seems like they are moving on to another game. Now, if you go back to the last dev stream and you look at how Wes was talking about, we're not adding a level cap increase in in-game currency, is because, of licensing, and also the fact that how much we wouldn't be able to create the mode like Rush Week, and we want to take it into bigger places. There's been balance patches around Rush Week, making Johnny more of a threat and, doing a lot of changes to him. Hell, I was literally making a Google document to improve that game mode because there's actually a lot more they could do with it. And now we just get this message today that the game is done. And it kind of is a shit show because there's been so much that they could have done to the game. Now, it seems like to me the reason why they probably stopped doing content on the game was probably because of just the limitations to the IP holders of the first movie. There's only so much you can do on it, and it's just not enough content for the game itself to continue and thrive. They have the license for like 5 years, and I don't think they probably had a long time ahead. Hell, they didn't meet their content deadline. The last family member and victim, I guess officially, is Bones, and the last victim pretty much is Wyatt. So it kind of goes to show, like, there wasn't really any communication for so many months, and it's just a shit show at best. And it's unfortunate how the game was. It was really fun while it lasted. There was like we said in the past, there was only going to be so many characters, so many like skill points that you can only get after you reach level 99. There was no incentive to play for. There was no anything you could really do on that. So it's a shame. This game had a lot of time to kind of insinuate that. Now, I don't know what they're going to do, what their next game is. It seems like they may be leaning towards possibly buying another license. And I just think if they're going to continue to make games, it has to be original content. It can't be just licensed stuff. Because it just seems like every time they obtain a license, there's always some bad stuff going on behind the scenes, and they don't even know like what they're doing half the time, and it kind of it's not a good idea to have certain things come to an end so abruptly. I thought this game could have had like possibly 3 years maximum, or maybe more, depending on how the game's success is actually going. And it's just not a good thing to have all this content that you had saved. Like, they claim that the content pass is finished, right? But the problem is that the fucking, Bubba outfit, the second Bubba outfit, the hair pack, the third map variant for whatever map that was supposed to be. And then, unfortunately, we weren't going to get the execution packs because those were leaked as well. So it's kind of like, what the fuck? Like, you guys had all this stuff planned and you're not going to at least finish the content pass for what it is. If you had done that, dropped the last family member and victim, you easily could have dropped all that in time and easily could have rolled off into the sunset a little bit better than how we got it. But yeah, it's just not a good look for how their representatives are, And not to mention, they pretty much had like one of the worst like PR teams on demand as well. Like, the way how I'm gonna say this I'll try to be as nice as possible. I'm not even gonna like rage. Like the Matt guy, like the brand strategy lead, whoever, like Matt on the gun team, the guy kind of needs to be a little bit more professional when it comes to answering questions, because the way he was going back and forth with people on Twitter, on Reddit, like a lot of people got angry by his responses because he was coming off a little bit just rude every single time. And they need to answer just a bit things professionally. I don't know Wes and Matt like that, so I don't know what they're going to do. But the only thing that Gun needs to really like step up is just how they answer people, how their community like it gets treated, and how they kind of feel that way. Like when he said sorry on a couple of dev streams ago, he's like, that sorry wasn't genuine. It wasn't like, him saying like, I'm sorry for saying those answers to you or responding to you in a negative way. I'll try to work on that and try to be more professional in answering questions. And it's just not a good thing to keep everybody kind of like up and up on that tact. So it's kind of just like, what else are you going to do besides, answer somebody in one way and kind of just piss everybody off in the other way? You can't please everybody. I understand that argument, but what you can't do is try to sort of insinuate things were coming. Like, we were promised cosmetics, we were promised new family member, or not promised a new family member and victim, but that stuff has been leaked for like the longest time. It's been on the Reddit forums. It's been on just a lot of stuff. I'm wondering how much content they really initially had planned, because if we had just gotten the final family member and victim and they wrapped it up then and they ride off into the sunset, it would have been a lot more kind of like, okay, well, it's unfortunate how much you guys had planned because you're limited to the IP holders, and it just kind of goes to show that, this game's longevity probably wasn't going to last like 5 years, because they own the license for like about 5 years-ish, because it's only one IP. So you're only so limited so much to the 70s, and before it's fully submerged. And it just seems like right now the game is officially sinking. A lot of people were probably like very, very, very upset by the way things were being like handled in the current time frame. So it just seems like, to me, no matter how much content they had planned, it just looked like they sort of were just like, what, hey, we're done. But that leads to the question of the final part of that paragraph, what's next for Gun. And they just really should probably work on a new game at this point, and that's what they should do. And what game could they do? Possibly another license, or they pretty much have one in the game itself, and that's Rush Week. They could take Rush Week and build it into a whole brand new game, because the polish on that is actually a lot better than the main mode. Johnny's actually a lot more threatening in this mode. I actually prefer him in Rush Week. He should have been a Rush Week exclusive. If it's up to me, I would just take him out the main mode and build him up from there. You really could have done a lot. Like, they can take so much with this game mode and make it into an actual game, because I'd be all for it. They can. It's free of the TCM license. They can add in as much content as they want. Like how they gave fucking Rush Week like Halloween outfits, and it's like the main mode doesn't even have that, and that's a fucking shocker to a lot of people. It's like, just fucking do it. You might as well. Don't waste everybody's time on this shit. And it's kind of like, oh, well, what else are we gonna do and do all that? So, because it's like, it's right there in your face. You can really make your bag and try to develop as much as you want, and it's like, because you're free of the license, you can do a lot. Like, if you guys didn't know, I was going through some stuff on Reddit, and my friend was also doing some digging on the game. apparently Rush Week was supposed to get like 5 maps, and that's fucking insane. It was supposed to get like some more maps or something like that, or around that number. So we got the standard sorority house map that's already in the game. Then from another leak from a Hispanic game account and from the same person who's been leaking from the data mines, we're supposed to get like a blackout map, which is pretty much this map, like it would be like the regular sorority house map, but it would be super dark, and the sorority girls would have had flashlights, and it's just like that would have been super cool to play. I would have played it. I would love to be spooked out and kind of scared of Johnny, because that would have made him more interesting and kind of more of like a fear factor to have. Because if you have the flashlights, it reduces fear, so he can't just pop up and kill you. But kind of like Evil Dead, when you're trying to reuse like the matchsticks to kind of ignite the campfire to reduce your fear. That would have been interesting with the flashlights. So it was actually a lot more interesting to have. And then apparently Rush Week was supposed to get like a hotel map, and my friend dug through the game files a long time ago, and he apparently saw they were supposed to have a campus map. And then apparently for another map that I guess got switched from Rush Week to main mode, there was supposed to be like a Main Street map or for a code name for that. So I'm guessing either Rush Week or the main mode was supposed to get like a town map or something. That would have been really interesting to have. Like that would have been so cool for either way. But looks like some things have changed since then. So it looks like the campus map was either scrapped or it was changed. The hotel map looks like that is just a code name for something else. It looks like that was supposed to be a map or something, but that got changed. Yeah, there was like so much shit after like Sumo and Black Tower when they switched all the other stuff that was coming to it. So it kind of just goes to tell me like, they probably had so much stuff planned and for it, and they actually seemed a lot energetic when they were talking about it. Like the signs have been there that the game was done. It just seemed like they were just a sinking ship and they had nothing else to do. It just seemed like a lot of people were on board with the fact that, the game was done either after they dropped one final family member and victim, because depending on how much skill points you have, like right now I have 96 skill points left because I went to the Bubba Big Swings build. If I went back up to the Scalp build, I would have had like 106 skill points. That's enough for one final family member for 50 and the other one for the final victim or family member and victim. So it was kind of like, what else are you going to add to the game? Because you can't add any more characters. You can't add the movie characters, because where are we getting the skill points for that? There's no level cap increase. There's nothing else to add. It was just going to be cosmetic central of fucking microtransactions of just, whatever the hell that case may be. And it was just a shit show. So it's kind of just like, it just seems like if it was up to me personally, I would just move on to making Rush Week into a bigger game, its own original game. It's free of the license, perks, loadouts, character lore to the sorority girls. Add frat boys to it, build them up as characters as well. You can make them like Leland, which is like a tank character or something. You can do a lot to it. You can add like fucking Sissy to the game. You can add Bones, Hands, Meadow. Hell, you can even put Meadow in that game mode and fucking use the animations you were already doing and do a lot with it. Because Wes did say in the last dev stream, like, hey, like I want to take Rush Week into bigger places. So you can honestly do that and really add so much more to that content that you already had planned. And it probably would have been a lot more interesting. I would play it. If Rush Week was its own game, I would play it. I would actually spend time playing the game because I want to do all that. If it was an actual full game, I actually would I would hope that Johnny, you can queue up as Johnny or any of the other family members. You can play as sorority girls, play one of the frat boys. Multiple maps. Constant updates and cosmetics. Stuff to actually earn and grind for, an actual in-game currency. I'd be shocked if they would have done a prestige system for it. I would have been totally all for Rush Week being its own game, like a spin-off game. But I guess that could be an option. They could grow, or they can move on to a whole new license and hopefully try to get I don't know, possibly just they can do a Halloween game. They can do another licensed movie game. I don't know, but if it was up to me, Gunn needs to kind of take 2 steps back, kind of reprogram themselves to figure out what they're gonna go from next. I would honestly be all for a Rush Week full game. I'd be all for it. I would actually play it and buy it, and actually expand on that, because you can even do a story mode for Rush Week, because I've made a video on that in the past, and Damien Maffei, who actually voices Johnny, actually said he'd be happy to do that if they actually went for it. So yeah, it's kind of a shit show to kind of hype up something for the main game and then kind of tell everybody, hey, all the content pass is done, the game reached its full potential, and kind of just wasted everybody's time trying to hype up stuff. But to kind of wrap up everything in a sense of time, I think it's just a shame. I met a lot of amazing people on here. I've seen a lot of like YouTubers and content creators, really thrive on this game, and they've done so much to keep it alive as well. Like, I can throw up a bunch of names right now and they know who they are, and they've been holding the game down for such a long time that they've been just great. And it doesn't matter if you're liked or disliked by the community, you definitely did your thing. No matter the controversy, no matter how much you did for it, like, you definitely did your thing. You streamed the game, you played the game, and I'm just going to leave a quick message to say that no matter how much you put into it, just know that your time was actually worth it in the sense of how much content you made. Now, I know a lot of people may think, like, what about me? Like, where am I going to go? I honestly probably may stay on Marvel Rivals. I may try to do For Honor or something. I don't know. I may upload TCM maybe like once or twice a week. I may, but I'm not going to play like every single day. I don't, because I still want to stick to Marvel Rivals and kind of grind out, some fun games on there, upload some funny clip moments, stuff like that. But I don't want to be limited to one game, and it kind of just sets the boundary of something else to be uniquely like destroyed on, And it's just a weird thing right now because it feels so awkward, because it's just like, man, I was just playing this game yesterday and it's doing great, and now all of a sudden it's not. I just am very disappointed. I mean, I'm not surprised, but I am shocked at this in a sense of like, or actually no, I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed because this game had a lot of potential. There were certain gameplay mechanics or certain metas that I really hated. Like, for instance, like the fucking grapple meta. That was ridiculous. All they had to do was just keep the insta-kill but gain an iframe when you beat the victim or beat the family member in the close encounter. That was so simple to do. There was always a simple balance changes that they could have done. Like, for example, like if Hands was made at launch and actually was at launch, the game probably, like, he was built for like the valve sitting in the basement and not regressing. Like, that could have been an easily rip stall and try to doing that. Like, the darkest time for this game was when fucking Danny came out and he like fucking broke the game for that long. It was just ridiculous with the instant tamper. And then they made a whole nother killer Hands to completely counter his fucking power, and I'm just like, that's insane to do that. But yeah, there was just so many problems, and I really wish they kind of did a better job trying to keep the game in a healthier state. Like, the problem was also there was no fucking communication for like so many months, and people were just getting bored of just dealing with the same shit every single time, and it was just ridiculous. But I don't know. It's a shame how things ran and how things were going, but unfortunately, the ship has sunken into the bottom of the abyss of the Dead Sea, and yeah, I just wanted to say though, for those of you who stuck around with my channel and supported me throughout this whole thing, I'm still trying to get 1,000 subs, but I wanted to say thank you all for the love and support on this channel, no matter if you are here for Texas Chainsaw or if you're here for Marvel Rivals. I am here to say I appreciate every single one of you who have made this game the way it is in this community. I know there's some toxicity involved in it, but I still think the small people who I did mention to kind of understand that they held this game down. I don't know what else to say other than just, it's a shame. It is a shame, and I hope Gun realizes that making their own original games like Rush Week, or original game mode, or original games like Rush Week could be their ultimate plan to actually redeem themselves. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter say like they're never gonna buy another Gun game again. It's totally like understandable. Hell, I kept my word. I'm never buying another Saber game again because Evil Dead, after the shit with that with Saber, I'm like, I'm never buying another ASIM game from fucking Saber. Speaking of which, today marks Evil Dead the game's 3rd year anniversary, and Texas Chainsaw died on their anniversary of their 3rd year, and that's fucking insane, by the way, to think about. If you're an Evil Dead hardcore fan and you understand that the Evil Dead, like, it technically, like, in terms of service and content, it pretty much died, and there's no reason to really play it. The sad part is like the problem with that, it was like, that's the shocker. Like, they closed the game down on the 3rd anniversary of Evil Dead's demise. So Texas is starting on the same day. The death of Texas starts on the same day that Evil Dead got released, and that's a fucking shit show. And no, not to mention like the fact that another Dead by Daylight competitor kind of died is not a good thing, because we want all asymmetrical games to succeed. But it's just unfortunate, and I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. So, because I don't want to keep going on a tyrant, but I'm just gonna simply say that, Gun, I hope you're paying attention, and I hope you're taking steps back, and you're hopefully gonna make better decisions on your games. I would also look at, figuring out ways to improve as a team, a way to kind of handle situations better, because it just seems like you guys don't know what you're doing sometimes. I'm hoping that things change, and I'm hoping for the better. I don't wish any ill will on Gun. I'm just going to simply say, you guys have to do better. No matter if it's negative or positive, just always remember, you always have to improve no matter what. But, yeah, I don't want to keep repeating myself. So, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you who have joined me on this channel, and hopefully you guys stick with me on future games as well, and we're able to deliver a very successful channel. And I don't know where I would be without you all. I know I've done TCM rants in the past, and they all were fun, but I've gotten to that point where I'm just over it, and looks like the game has sunken and has shipped. So thank you all so much for watching, and I love you all. And as always, like, comment, and sub, and stay groovy. Bye.